Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Shadow and Sun Show, and welcome to the Book of the Month Club, I guess. I might do 2 this month. I'm not sure yet. I'm going to have a lot of free time on my hands. But I recently bit the bullet and got some actual reading glasses, not these cheap readers that I get from the dollar store, you know, $1.25. I actually had a prescription filled and did the eye exam and everything like that. My insurance was, you know, going to renew, and been paying for it for years. I figured, all right, I'll get some glasses, and I got to tell you right off the bat, these are like night and day difference. Because my optometrist was actually able to show me what these look like and then compare them to those. I don't know that that's exactly what she was doing, but she seemed like a nice lady, and obviously she wanted to sell me some glasses, but she obviously wants me to see better, and now I can. So maybe when I read a book, I'll be able to read for more than 5 pages without falling asleep. That's the big thing. But it inspired me to break out one of my fondest memories of reading a book, and that was this book called URSHURAK. It was written, well, it came out in 1979. I got a first edition back in the day. I don't know what happened to it. I had to re-buy it, and this one's in pretty good shape. It cost me like $10, and I'm going to read you the back because you know, right off that. From there, you'll be able to tell if it's your cup of tea. I know some people I know who would love it, but others, well, let's just go through it. URSHURAK, a land peopled by elves and Amazons, wizards and Gorpies, witches and monsters. URSHURAK, a land of extremes of beauty and ugliness, violence and peace, where an epic struggle between forces of good and evil will be fought, a struggle that will decide the fate of the world. Sounds pretty much, you know, your standard bill of fare. Elves and dwarves and Gorpies, I think, are dwarves, and then there's also these things, or maybe they're the fuzzies. They're literally like little miniature Big Feet, you know. Okay, little furry guys. Ewoks, maybe before Ewoks. I think technically before Ewoks, but I'm getting away from myself. I'm going to show you some pictures, give you some ideas, but this is what blew me. This is part of what blew me away about this book. URSHURAK is the creation of the brothers Hildebrandt, artists famed for their fantasy and science fiction illustrations, perhaps best known for their visual recreation of the characters of Tolkien's Lord of the Rings and the Star Wars poster, the original with the Luke holding the lightsaber. That one, those guys. Okay, the Hildebrandt brothers have turned their unique talents to storytelling with Jerry Nichols. They have put into words a tale in the classic tradition of fantasy, a rich tapestry of high adventure and romance set in a land where magic reigns and anything is possible. 16 color paintings and more than 80 black and white drawings by the brothers vividly illustrate the text, bringing to life the characters and landscape of URSHURAK. Now, for those of you who don't know anything else about the Hildebrandt brothers, besides that, they're twin brothers who are able to, they basically share the same artistic, literal mind. I've seen them do interviews where they would talk about how one brother would sleep and the other would draw. And then when he woke up and the other guy would go to sleep, and now the other guy, they had the same exact style. They literally, share the same artistic, exact psychic sort of weird link. It's bizarre. Their artwork is amazing. You've seen it on tons and tons of things. Now I'm going to go and show you a couple of my favorite images from this book. Not all of them because I don't want to spoil it, but there's a couple of things that that really just I just now, mind you, I've only read this book a couple of times. Here's one of my favorite images, is of the witch. Let's see if I can get it. I model all my villainous witches in my fantasy games after this particular witch in this particular image. Not the traditional black hat broom kind of witch, but more of a barbaric, and that particular witch did very well in inspiring me for many witch characters. This scene right here is just gorgeous. I believe that's the Amazons' homeland. The Amazons are a race of human women that have, well, let me see if I can find it, because it's also one of my other favorite images. I'm going to come back to that one and that one. She was one of my favorite characters in the book as a young man. I'm sure you can imagine why. But this image will actually kind of bring home why. Because there she is, firing a laser cannon. It's more like, they call it the fire crystal. It's more like the mirrored lens weapons from the Greeks or ancient times. But it's more magically powered than just sunlight and mirrors and lenses. And then I'm going to show you a couple of images of the world. This particular city, I'm not sure if it's the Elven Kingdom or the Human Kingdom, but it's just freaking gorgeous. Look at that. You know, it's very Gondor-esque. And then here's their version of Mount Doom. And I'm not going to lie, a lot of it is very simplistic. You know, it's like the world is more or less, you know, half evil, half good. A trope I've borrowed many a time, you know, in my games as well. The bad guys live over here, or they live down here, vice versa with the good guys. And there's a war going to happen and all that. But it's a very, very charming story. These guys, they didn't just bang out a Tolkien clone. They drew storyboard after storyboard, like according to the book, like hundreds, if not thousands, of images before they even started writing. Jerry Nichols, I think, it did most of the writing. I'm not going to lie, when it came to what actual words were chosen. But the three of them worked together with their artistic vision, and it's just a really nice, wholesome, not Tolkien story. Just a, you know, very Tolkien-esque, but it's not Tolkien. They do a lot of different things, obviously, and there's really not enough of these. I think John Jake said the same thing. Excuse me, about his Brack the Barbarian story. Obviously, they were modeled after Conan, and as Conan as possible, because simply put, there aren't enough Conan stories for us to you know, be satisfied. So these guys kind of went, and mind you, it was 1979. That's, you know, a long time ago, and since then a lot of people have done the same thing and pumped out a lot of mediocre stuff. And this might not be, you know, Pulitzer Prize winning kind of, you know, writing, and or even award winning writing, but this was a big deal. When I was a young man, this book was #1 everywhere. Every game store, every bookstore had the big display. This was like the big modern fantasy of, you know, the late 70s, early 80s, and I'm amazed that I don't know anybody who's read it. Back when I was working at the game shops, everybody I knew had a copy of this. You know, you could see it sticking out of every backpack that I hung out with, all the kids, all the grown-ups that played D&D and all that. But nobody had this. Nobody, I mean, everybody had this, but nobody I know now has ever read it. I was just talking to some people this afternoon, never heard of it. Like, never heard of it? I know the name URSHURAK doesn't really jump out and grab you, isn't very memorable, but everything inside it was definitely it's definitely worth a read once. It's very charming, very high aspirational. You know, even if you look at the cover, even the I think the the main hero. It's like Luke Skywalker. I mean, come on. It's just, if Luke Skywalker was an elf and had to save the world, this is what you're getting. And you know, I can see how, again, with our jaded, you know, 21st century, you know, opinions on things, how this is, you know, oh, boring, been done before. Yeah, well, it hadn't really been done prior to this, except by Tolkien and a few other writers who always went with a more gritty, grim, dark, nonsensical, you know, everything sucks, everything bad. This book was a novel about hope and fighting the good fight, and you know, all the things that used to mean something in the days of yore, and now, well, maybe, you know, in a year or two or so, we'll come back to this kind of storytelling instead of, you know, the ambiguous hero, the anti-hero, the you know, everything's gray and dark and dismal and lame. This wasn't. This was cheerful. Don't get me wrong, there were some brutal, hard, ugly scenes and truths and situations, but, you know, it's a book of hope. And something I hope you guys will go check out. If you have, please let me know, because finding people who've read these old books is, you know, getting harder and harder to do. But that's why I do this show sometimes, is to see who remembers what it was like in the before times. So that's what I've got for you today, Monday. Hope you guys have a great week. Hopefully you won't mind as I you know, review this book, but I wanted to give you guys some time to go out and see if you can find a copy at your used bookstore or, you know, eBay or whatever, Amazon. It's not hard to find. I might even buy an extra copy or two just to make sure that I always have this book in my collection, and maybe hand out a copy or two, because I really enjoyed it, and I hope you guys do too. And you know, let me know in the comment section. Until then, happy trails.